Hey, what's up guys? It's Sky, and I know I've been neglecting Battlefield 1 Flight School for quite a while. Been busy with a lot of things, and I've been distracted by other games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. And I jumped on Battlefront for a bit with a new Rogue One DLC, and that's been a lot of fun. The last time I really jumped on Battlefield was the last video, so a lot of things have happened. Another patch was released, and there's a new map that was released. And from what I heard, there's a lot of changes to playing games, so I jumped on for 10 minutes today, and you see the gameplay here. I want to try out a couple things because I read that the fighter plane cannons were buffed, the anti-air turrets were further nerfed, and the plane lag was resolved. And from my 10 minutes kind of warming up in Battlefield 1 on Ballroom Blitz, I can attest that those things appear to be true. Now, one interesting thing about the patch is that it reset my plane loadout, so I spawned in on the dogfighter loadout not even knowing, and I realized that with the recent buff to the fighter plane cannons, the dogfighter loadout is actually pretty good now. You're pretty much invincible in the air, and if you have pretty good aim on infantry on the ground, then you can rack up the kills that way too. Now, the gameplay you see is not all that impressive. I was actually trying to get used to the controls again more than anything, but there's still a lot of things you can learn from it. So the first thing you'll notice is that as soon as I zero on this enemy plane, his wingman immediately gets on my 6, and this is something you see a lot. And it can be effective because a lot of times when people zero in on their target, they kind of get tunnel vision. Here I just disengage, and a great way to throw off your tail's aim initially is to just go into a quick barrel roll. I'm going to pitch up, yaw right, and roll right hard. And it's almost impossible to create the exact same inputs to copy the maneuver exactly. But of course, against a good dogfighter, your work has only just begun. Here I'm diving to create airspeed and then turning toward my opponent, and then using the airspeed I created to pull back up. Remember to jam the throttle when you pull up, and then I'm going to repeat it until I get eyes on him. And if your opponent's anything like this guy, he's probably just horizontal looping. Here I dive to create airspeed and close the distance on him. And you'll see how repeating this eventually wins me time in a dogfight, but I have to disengage here because of the AA turret. And you can see how the AA turret is not that much of an issue anymore. Now I lose sight of my opponent. Here I'll fly to a high elevation to the edge of the map and look around, and immediately I see him. And he has the advantage on me, but since I'm at a high elevation, I can instantly create airspeed for an evasive maneuver. Now in a negative dogfight like this, a lot of people don't really know how to maneuver to get out of this. And I'm sure there's a lot of ways, but for me personally, I'm always going to dive toward my opponent, but I'm also going to create a maneuver with all three inputs. Here I'm pitching up, yawing left, and I'm also rolling left, and it's all directed in a dive toward where I think my opponent is. And the reason for that is it's almost impossible to recreate this maneuver if you're trying to follow it. I mean, you have to pitch, yaw, and roll at exactly the amount that I'm rolling, and that just helps evade your enemy's cannons while you're trying to win time. Now here the dogfight is pretty neutral, neither of us have an advantage. In this situation, after you pass each other, you can utilize a switch. Now I like to switch at the top of the loop because after switching you can use your elevation to create airspeed. So in Battlefield 1 I always recommend a top switch. But in the gameplay you see here, nothing really goes on at this point. I'm engaging a 2v1 and I can't really get on either of their 6s. So I'm mostly maneuvering evasively. I'll speed up the footage to kind of get through this part because nothing really goes on. But one thing to note is that the dogfighter loadout's auto repair ability is really nice. The only reason I thought the dogfighter loadout was pretty useless before was because the cannons on the fighter plane were pretty useless, but that's not really the case anymore. And you'll see in this video that I use the auto repair ability to pretty much stay up indefinitely without ever having to manually repair. If you notice on the minimap, both my opponents have my tail, but I'm maneuvered just like I told you earlier in the video. I'll start with the initial barrel roll to shake their aim and then dive toward them using pitch, yaw, and roll. And here I'll actually use the edge of the map boundary, and that's a good way to corral your opponent, especially in a 2v1. You can keep them on a certain side. Here I'm using the out of bounds area as a frame of reference, and I know exactly where to look to find my opponents. And you'll see in this sequence here that DICE did a really good job of resolving the plane lag. It's pretty much not an issue anymore. And you'll see me engage this guy here, and you'll see one mistake he made. He knows I'm on his 6 and his first move is in the upward direction. That just kills his airspeed and makes it really hard to maneuver. Again, if I'm in that situation, I'm going to give a really hard quick barrel roll to initially throw off your aim, and then I'm going to dive to create airspeed and then turn right towards you, using all three inputs, pitch, yaw, and roll. Remember, all dogfighting maneuvers should include all three inputs. And you can see here that this guy is not that bad of a pilot, but he doesn't really know what to do. A pilot like this is going to either need an AA turret or his teammate to bail him out. But you'll find that 90% of pilots are like this, and now that they've resolved the plane lag issue, it's a lot less frustrating to tail these kind of pilots. And you'll see here that I get to disable, but I'm not quite comfortable with the controls yet. It's been a month since I last flew, and I kind of panic here. I should have been able to get that kill, but I disengage, and a lot of times you're just better off disengaging. I don't know what happened to the other guy. I think he crashed or something. And I'll speed up the footage here because I'm not sure what I was doing. Maybe I heard the other guy in my headphones or something. Basically, I'm just diving to create airspeed and then turning toward where I think he is. Eventually, I get to the edge of the map, take this opportunity to look around. I don't see him, and go back about my business. You see me engage this AA turret basically head on and survive. And that's a testament to how much DICE nerfed them, for better or for worse. And I think I'm going to try out attack planes a lot more from now on. Now, my biggest issue with attack planes is that they were really vulnerable to AA turrets and to tail gunners. But now that those issues have been resolved, I think I'll jump back in the attack plane because it's a lot easier to get those really high kill count games. It's a little tougher to get those kills on strafe runs in the fighter plane. And you'll see me kind of fly in circles here, and I'm not really sure what I was doing, but I'm pretty sure I could hear the other guy in my headphones. And basically I'm just maneuvering evasively so he can't really get a clear shot on me. And I'll speed this footage up, and eventually I do get him in my sight. You saw him pass me there. Again, I corral him to the edge of the map, and then I see him going after our bomber, and this turned into a pretty easy kill. They really did a good job buffing the fighter plane cannons. I kind of derped there. It's really tough to maneuver when you're pulling up, and that's kind of what happened there. But the dogfighter loadout has a quick repair ability, so kind of got away with that one. Anyways, guys, it's been a while. I'm excited to jump back on Battlefield 1. Posting new videos soon. Catch you later.